Before I worked in nonprofits, I was what you'd call a corporate whore. I worked in a really nice global company. I published magazines. I had an expense account, traveled all over the world. And the theme's comfort zone. So one of the things that pulled me out of my comfort zone was traveling. I grew up, as I've said in previous stories, with very few resources and grew up pretty poor. And I probably had ridden on a plane twice in my life until I got this job in Cleveland. So I had to get over my fear of flying really quickly. Anyways, I'm going to back up. This story's called The Ponies, by the way. Just I thought the title's kind of significant. So I had to travel a lot for this job. And one of the places I went to a lot was Vegas. I was there probably 4 or 5 times a year. And to me, Vegas is one of the most repulsive cities I've ever been to. It's all about excess, and the whole city was built on the idea of a mirage, and it really is. I mean, everything there is like a phony replication, up to the actual city itself. I mean, it's the Strip is all about excess, and just like a mile away, people are completely poor, mostly Hispanic. And they have to ride their bikes to the Strip to work service jobs, very menial jobs, work in the casinos and work in restaurants. So I saw that disparity right off the bat. It really made me uneasy. And I was there so much, I would have to spend a week at a time, so I would occupy myself. And I'm not a gambler, and actually do not like gambling at all, but I would learn how to play blackjack and go to the cheap blackjack tables. Because on the Strip, every casino, it's like $20 a hand, which is way out of my comfort zone. And I would go to the old Vegas, the old Vegas with like a million lights, and play the $5 hands and make just enough money back to be able to drink for free and break even at the end of the night, just to do something to ease the pain of being a corporate whore at the end of the night. So on one particular visit to Vegas, we had, I made friends with other people from the company from different cities. One guy's from Duluth, one guy's from Chicago, and so we would meet up on these trips and go do something fun. And this guy Matt, one of the guys, he's from Chicago, he said on this particular visit, I think this was around '07, he said, "Let's go play the ponies." I'm like, "What? Play the ponies? Is there a horse track around here?" I didn't know anything about that. So he goes, no, there's a casino called the Frontier that's closing down, and we need to go play the ponies. It's a lot of fun. And I still didn't know what he was talking about. I'm like, okay, I'm game. And one of the things about Vegas, the 6 years I worked at this job, I would see them tear down and rebuild casinos all the time, like a disgusting reptile shedding its skin, regrowing. And this casino, the Frontier, it actually had been there since the 40s and was closing down in '07. So it was a Western-themed casino, because all the casinos have a theme. They're like their own little worlds, So the guys are like, okay, let's go play the ponies. I said, okay, I'm not much of a gambler. I just wanted to do something to pass the time. So we walk into this place, and by Vegas standards, by the Strip's standards, was pretty dilapidated. Like, it looked kind of run down, the cowboy theme and everything. So we go to this little table, and it was this like machine that had these little tiny plastic horses. And you put quarters in, and you hear, you couldn't even tell what the announcer was saying. You hear little tinny cheering. And so the three of us gathered around, and we got a few drinks, and we're like, okay. The one guy, Travis, who's a riot, he's from Duluth. He liked to get loud when we went to casinos, to the point where we would almost get kicked out of places. And he was like our entertainment of the three of us. He was like our, the guy who we laughed at the whole night, laughed with, then laughed at. And so it was a quarter machine where you would put a couple quarters in and then bet on like 2 horses. And then, you'd it'd pay you out if it won. So, we got a couple dollars in quarters, put a couple quarters in. We won, yeah. So then even after the first couple races, we started cheering louder than we probably should have. Like really like we were watching the World Series or something. Like, yes, come on, number 12, number 12, you son of a bitch, come on. And so people from the casino were like looking at us like, what is going on over there? First they were like kind of giving us the stink eye, like, all right, these guys, you know, they're kind of like looking at us in a little bit of a suspicious manner. One aside, I hope to never go to a casino again. They're the most depressing places in the world. Full of people who really are wearing tattered shoes and betting like probably all the money they have. And it's kind of sickening, you know, how much money these casinos take from people. But anyways, aside over, we were playing the ponies, putting little quarters, put a few quarters in, yelling, having a good time. And then people were looking at us suspiciously. Then a couple people started gathering around like, hey, what's all this racket? A couple people started gathering on the table. Then other people got in and started playing. And one thing I realized after hours of this, this was like, okay. One of the things I realized after hours of this is the more people who played the pony machine, the more it paid out. And the more, you know, so it's one of those things where more people started gathering around. We got loud. We started cheering. And more people gathered around, more people started playing. So, you know, what became more of first a nuisance, like most of this area of the casino was gathered around watching the pony races. These little tiny plastic ponies moving very awkwardly, you know, on these little slats around a track. And I tell you, it was really fun. So much fun where we each won like $100 in quarters. I don't know if you ever handled $100 in quarters. I felt like a freaking pirate. Like I wanted to just put it in a satchel and walk around and just swagger on the strip. So we played so much, our hands turned black. So one of the things about quarters, change is very filthy. So we won so much money, we had to get these giant cups from the Frontier, and we just walked around with all these giant cups filled with quarters, like $100 worth a piece. So we cashed out and went drinking and went to some nightclubs that weren't as charming as the Frontier and spent it all. You know, usually I would end up my Vegas trip breaking even and making enough to drink for free. So, and I was sad. I was actually kind of sad that casino got torn down because that little dilapidated, well, it wasn't little, but that dilapidated Western-themed casino, to me, had a lot more character than the Mirage or Treasure Island or some of these other, you know, lavish places. And oddly enough, at that same time, they were building a giant, ugly gold monstrosity there. It's gross. Anyways, so that's my, I got pulled out of my comfort zone. I cheered like hell for some little tiny plastic ponies. And hopefully I'll never go to Vegas again. Thank you.